All right, grab a yoga block and you're just going to put it on the ground. Doesn't really matter where. I don't know why I picked it up. And you're just gonna start with your arms by your side or on your hips, whichever you prefer, and pick your toes up and then try to put them down, pinky all the way down to your big toe, and then again, just pick them up and then try to go the other way. So put your pinky toe down and then the second toe all the way to the pinky and lift them back up and do one more time. From the pinky to the big toe and the other way. And then reach your arms up overhead, take a really big stretch, lock your thumbs, and then just side bend up and over to one side, and let your rib cage relax. But try not to collapse. Think about still reaching. And then up to the center, you can change the hook of your thumbs if you want, and then up and over to the other side, keeping your hips square to the front. One more time over to the right. This time, once you're over, cross your left foot over the right. Press your left calf into your right leg, but just make sure you're not hyperextending your right knee. And root those feet both into the ground. And then try to reach a little bit farther towards where the wall meets the corner and get a stretch even more through that left side. And then uncross your leg and come all the way up. And then over to the other side. So side bend first. Reach and find that beginning of your stretch, and then cross your right foot over the left. Press back gently. Feet are both rooted on the ground. Try not to shift your left the hips all the way to one side. And then uncross your feet, and then come all the way up. And then just bring your arms down by your sides. Grab your book, your block, whatever you have, and then just come to sit on it. And you're gonna cross your legs in front of you, or you can have them out long, whichever is more comfortable. And then just bring your fingertips over to the left and side bend up and over. Really think about reaching your right sitting bone down into the block. And then come all the way up and over to the right. You can bend your arm that's on the floor as much as you need. And once more to each side. And then up and over to the right, last time. And then come all the way up and bring your feet in front of you or however it's comfortable. And then you're gonna grab onto your right foot and just bring it somewhere on your left leg. And you're just gonna put your fingers in between your toes as best you can. And then just sort of give your toes a point and a flex using your fingers to help move them. You may find that after a minute or a few times back and forth, you can move up closer to your hand. And then just do little circles of your ankle, just gently, and then back the other way. And then one or two more times pointing and flexing. And then release. And just extend both legs long and just take a look at your legs. Notice if your feet look different, they feel different. My toes, I have a little bit more space in between them now on the right leg, and my right thigh is more relaxed. Now you're gonna trade sides. So same thing, the best you can. One side may be harder than the other. Just point and flex your toes, using your arm to do so. Try to work your fingers a little bit higher up if it works out. And then give yourself a couple little circles, 3 or 4 in each direction. And then again, pointing and flexing your feet. And then release your legs and then bring your feet back onto the mat and just round forward over your legs and let your head be heavy. Let your back round and not worry very much about what your spine is doing as long as you're getting a nice stretch and it's nice and relaxed. And then press your hands into your shins and stack your spine up nice and tall. And then again, round forward. You can keep pressing your hands into your shins if that feels good. And then stack your spine back up nice and tall one more time. And then again, round forward. and back up. And then you're gonna grab your block and you're gonna sit down onto the floor and you're gonna put the block between your knees. And you're just gonna bring your hands back behind you and just let your knees come over to one side. Your feet can lift off, or your top foot can lift off the floor, and then up and over to the other side. I'm just using the block to make sure that your hips are staying square. Press out of your arms. This should feel nice. You can make your range of motion as big or as small as you need. One more time to the right, and then to the left. And then come back up to the center, grab on behind the thighs, and then round yourself all the way back. Keep the block in between your knees if you'd like. If not, you can drop it by your side. Hello, balloon. And then bring your hands behind your head. Lengthen the back of your neck, interlace your fingers here, nod your chin slightly, bring your gaze down your nose, and then curl up, slide your ribs toward your hips, and lower all the way back down. And then back up, and down. Just gently holding on to that block. Think about the hold of that coming from your inner thighs, more than like just squeezing from the knee. It should be gentle. 3 more. 2. Last one, stay lifted here. You're just gonna give the block a little squeeze and then release. And then a little squeeze and release. You can think about squeezing the pelvic floor and release. 4 more. Squeeze and release. Shoulder blades are floating off of the floor. Head is pressing back into your hands. 2 more. And last one. And then grab onto your block or book, whatever it is. Hold it above your head and then you're just gonna lower yourself down. If you're holding a book and this gets too heavy, you can just do this holding your arms in the air. You don't have to hold on to anything. And you're just gonna reach your arms forward and then reach the block towards your knees and then lower all the way back down. And then lift up, reach it forward, and then come back. We're gonna do 1 more just like this. And then this next time, you're gonna come up and you're gonna pause, reach it forward, lift it in line so your hands are right over your shoulders. And then you're gonna lower down and lift and lower. 4 more. Tuck your chin, but make sure that it's not pressed against your chin, pressed against your chest. The farther back you go with the arms, the more the abdominals will have to control where you're at. Also make sure that your gaze is staying fixed at your legs and not following the block as you lift up and overhead. Pause here. You're gonna rotate over towards the right, keep your hips heavy on the mat, and then over to the other side. And then to the left, and to the right, and to the left. Feet are pressing down into the ground, right, to the left. 2 more times to each side. Twisting and rotating through the rib cage. Last one. And then bring it back to the center and then lower yourself all the way down. Bring your arms, or legs rather, long. And then you're gonna curl yourself up, reach the block long towards your feet as you curl all the way up, and then grab onto the block in between your feet, or ankles rather. And then you're gonna reach your arms long, sitting up nice and tall, tuck your tailbone under, create space in the front of your hips, and then roll back 1 vertebrae at a time. And extend your arms overhead, take a nice stretch. Feel your ribs drop down towards the floor as you curl your head, neck, and shoulders up, and then reach forward, reach your legs away. Keep giving that block a little squeeze, and then roll back down. We're gonna do 2 more like this, and then we're gonna come to stand. Last one, rolling all the way down. And then roll all the way back up. Reach forward over your legs. You can bend your knees. Give your back a little stretch forward. And then come up to stand. And you're just gonna put the block wherever makes sense in your mat. Give yourself some room. I'll do this facing you, but I'll turn halfway through. And you're gonna bring your left foot onto the block. Keeping your hips nice and square to start, you're gonna bring your right leg into the air so that your Hips are level, your feet are at the same height, even though you're only standing on the block with that left side. And then try to kind of center your body. And then you're gonna dip your right hip and then pick it back up. So think about lengthening out of the right side, shortening on the left, and then pick it back up. And dip that right hip and up. You can keep your foot flexed or pointed, doesn't make a difference. Last one. And then pause with your legs at the same height and your hips nice and square. You're gonna soften your left leg and you're gonna reach your right leg out to the side and then come back in. And then reach it straight out to the side and back in. Again, your hips are nice and square. If you find that place at the top of your leggings, or you just find your hip bones with your thumbs, you should be able to slide your hands around and you'll be able to see whether or not they're at the same height. 2 more. Last one, leave your leg out, sweep it back behind you, and then sweep it to the side, and then back behind you, and to the side. So when you're in the side, you want to be slightly externally rotated, and then rotate the femur in your hip to parallel as you come back. And then externally rotate to parallel. Externally rotate out, internally rotate to parallel. 3 more. Really spreading out through your whole foot on that left side. Last one, pause here, and then internally rotate, come to the center. Externally rotate to go out to the side, and then internally rotate to the center. Again, not forgetting the ribs to hips. Help keep you nice and stable. You can always hold on to something if you need. 2 more. And to the front, last one. And then keep your leg out in front, bend the knee, bring it up into tabletop. And then you're just gonna lower that leg straight down and then hinge at the hip, hinge at the knee, and bring it up. Back down. Fold rather than hinge. Lift. And back down, 4 more. 3. This class will be more lower body focused. Last one, keep it lifted and then externally rotate and then bring it back in. And externally rotate, trying to keep your hip or your knee rather at the same height. And whether that's the same height as your hip or halfway down your thigh, doesn't matter, but just try to keep your knee at the same height as you open and close. 2 more. Last one, bring your leg to the center, lower it down. And then I'm just gonna turn, you're gonna keep your left leg where it is, bring your right leg back into tabletop, bend that leg back behind you and extend it behind you. You're gonna bend your left knee just a little and you're gonna tap it down and lift on that right side. So sort of like if we were laying on our stomachs. Think about the extension through the front of your hip, but keeping your low back protected so you're not arching your back. Again, you can always hold on to something for 4, 3, 2 more. Last one, bend at the knee and then extend. Think about opening up through the back of the leg. So your upper body can be pitched forward a bit here. And extend. Trying to keep that knee stable in space. 2 more. Last one. Bring that leg back in and then take your legs out and we're gonna switch sides. So now your right leg is gonna come on, standing with your feet both hovering at this, or the left leg hovering at the same space. Hips are square, and then you're just gonna dip that left hip now and pick it back up. And then dip the left. Dip. And lift. Again, find the top of your ribs, not your ribs, your hips. And 4 more. 3, 2. Last one. Pause with that leg lifted. You're gonna lift it straight out to the side and bring it back in. And as you lift, think about extending it long from both the in and outside of the leg. And again, obviously, you are working on your balance here. One side may be easier than the other. Just check in on that right leg a couple of times as we move through and make sure that you're not hyperextending. That knee should not be like locked out, bent in the other direction. And then use all of your toes. 3 more. Last one, keep it out there. Externally rotate, and then rotate it to parallel back behind you, and then externally rotate to the side. And back. For 6. 5. 4. Really focusing on just rotating the leg in the socket. 2. Last one. If your right glute is on fire, you're not the only one, and then to the front. And externally rotate. And to the front. Only go with the range of motion that works for each leg and each direction that you're moving in. You may find that they're wildly different. 2 more. Last one. And then bring that leg up to all fours. Not all fours, what am I talking about? Shake out your right leg if you need. Bring your leg up to tabletop. And then tap it down. And pick it up. Back down. Using your breath and your abdominals to help stabilize you. Or find a fixed point anywhere ahead of you to stare at that isn't something else that's moving. Last one. Pick your leg up, and then you're going to externally rotate and bring it back in. And back out. And again, keeping your knee at the same height. 5. 4 more. 3. Last one. Lower that leg down. Let your leg shake out for a second. Then you're going to bring your right leg back onto the block. Bring that knee into tabletop and then sweep it back behind you. Bend the right knee, tap the left leg down, keeping the extension through the front of the leg. Length through the back as well. So you're not squeezing the low back, just the glute. 4 more. You put your arms out to the side, hands on your hips, holding on to something. Whatever works for you. 2 more. Last one. Bend the knee and extend. And bend and extend. For 6. 5. 4 more. Think about opening up the back of the leg, squeezing the glute, lengthening through the thigh. 3. 2. Neck is long. Last one. Lower that leg down. And then shake your legs out a whole bunch. We're going to give them a rest for a little while. Bring your block over to the sides. Stand at the back of your mat. We'll walk all the way down into a plank here. And then just lift your hips up. Bend your knees as much as you need. And if you can, try to lengthen your heels towards the floor, your sitting bones, and your flat back up towards the ceiling. And then bring your right leg forward in between your hands. Plant your left foot down. If you need, fold your mat over to protect your left knee. And think about pulling your heel and knee up in opposition towards one another, and then lift yourself up. Think about tucking your tailbone under and lifting your chest. You can always hold on to something, almost like you're gonna put the thigh of the left foot on the ground. Just getting a stretch through that left hip flexor and quad. And then bring your hands onto the ground, lift your left leg up, and then sit your hips back so you're getting a stretch through your right hamstring. And if you can, try to pull your toes back towards your face by moving your foot square and then bringing the toes back. So all the toes together, not only the toes, but also the foot moving. And then bring that leg forward, curl the back toes under, bring that foot back to a plank. Hold your plank here. Tuck your tailbone under, lengthen your spine, neck is long. You can also be on your forearms or on your knees with your toes curled under. 2 more breaths. Thinking about breathing wide, and then exhale. Draw your ribs towards one another, trying to prevent the flare. Last one. And then bring that left foot forward. Right knee comes down. Left heel draws toward your right knee, and then pull yourself up. Again, tuck your tailbone under so the front of your hip is open, but your low back is protected. And then lift your chest up. Make sure that your left knee isn't falling out to the side. It's still right in line with your hip. And a couple breaths here. And then bring your hands down. Lift the heel up on, or the toes up rather, on your left foot. You can slide it forward if you need. I'm not flexible. Sit your hips back wherever it's comfortable. I think ideally your hips are square over your knee, but there's no reason it can't come back. And then try to square that foot. Pull back the outside metatarsals if you tend to, lead with your big toe side of your foot. Trying to keep yourself square. And then drop that foot down, bring your hands back, tuck the toes under, and then come back into your plank one more time. Good. From here, you're gonna drop your knees, soften the elbows, lengthen through the front of your body, and then lower yourself slowly, 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 all the way to the ground. You can move your block out of the way. You don't need it at the moment. And then bring your hands onto the floor, stack them one on top of the other, and then just rest your forehead on top of your hands. You're gonna press your arms into the floor, and you're just gonna curl your head, neck, and chest off the floor, pressing your pubic bone and your hip bones into the floor. Draw your ribs towards your hips, protecting the low back, and lower back down. 2 more just like this, leaving the arms down so only the upper body's lifting. Your shoulders are relaxed. Back down. Last one like this. And then inhale, lower down. Now when you exhale, you're gonna lift your arms with your head. And if this is too much, just lower your arms down. And then lower halfway down. Actually go all the way down this time, sorry. And then you're gonna lift all the way back up. Again, low back is lengthened. You may not be able to lift so high, taking this extra weight with you. And then whichever version you're doing, you're gonna lift up to your highest height, and you're gonna lower halfway down and lift. Halfway down and lift. And again, you can do the same thing with your arms lowered down. You may be able to do one more comfortably than the other one day and not the next. Do whatever works for you that day, or today, not that day. Last one, pause at the top. Reach your arms long by your sides, lift the palms up towards the ceiling, reach them towards your fingertips, open up through the front of the chest, and then lower all the way down. Bring one cheek to the floor. Give your hips a little shake. And then once your low back is released, find that connection between your body and the floor. Lift through the arms, externally rotate through the front of the arm, and then float yourself up. Reach back like you're a little rocket. Palms are lifted, arms are lifted, reaching back toward your toes. And then lower back down, bring your opposite cheek to the floor. And then again, back up. Make sure you're breathing before you move. We're gonna go back down. And up. You can think about reaching more with the pinky finger side of your hand. If you find it's hard to externally rotate through the upper arm to open up the chest. To the right one more time. And lift. Last one to the left. And lift, pause here. Pulse the arms up for 8, 7. Keep thinking about opening up through the chest. 6, 5. You can lift your pinkies, turn your palms in. 5, 4, 3, 2. Neck is long. Last one. Bring your palms down on the floor. Curl yourself back. And bring your knees nice and wide into a child's pose. Press your hands into the ground, opening up through the back of your back, front of your chest, your armpits. And and then come into all fours. Tuck the tailbone under, round your spine up towards the ceiling, thinking about opening up to the front of your hip. And then uncurl your spine one vertebrae at a time, coming into the cow position. And then again, curl the tailbone under, round up into your angry, you're scared, whatever, cat. And then back to the other way, coming into that little bit of extension. And back up. And under. 2 more. Use this as a moment to just move your body in whatever manner feels good. If you want to make a little circle, look over one shoulder and then the other, or even make a circles with your hips or your upper body. Just find for a breath or two whatever form of cat-cow feels good for you. And once more. And then find yourself in a nice neutral position. Extend your leg back behind you. The right side would be great. Float that leg up and tap it down. Float it up and down. Just like we were doing standing, but now we're in a different plane. Elbows are soft. You're using your whole hand just like we were using our whole foot. And lift. 2 more. Last one, keep your leg lifted, bend the knee in, and then extend. Lower it down, lift, bend it in, extend, and lower. 2 more just like this. Extend, lower, last one. Bend, extend, lower. You're gonna lift it up, bend it around your whole spine, and then extend it long. Bend it back in, round your spine, and extend. Trying to keep yourself square. So your weight isn't all the way over in that left knee. Your right arm is doing more work. And extend. 2 more. Press through your whole hand. Don't forget about that. Last one. Round and extend. And then lower that knee down. And then extend your left leg long. Tap it down and lift. 7. Neck is long. Chest is open. 3 more. 2. Last one, leave it lifted. Bend it in. Extend. Tap it down. Bend it in. Extend and tap. Keeping your spine in neutral still. We'll add the rounding in and about 4 more. Bend, extend, and lower, lift. 2 more. Last one. This time when you bend your knee in, you're gonna round your spine, press through the whole hand, extend, find neutral. Bend and bring it in, extend and find neutral. 5 more. 4. 3. 2. Last one. And then find yourself on all fours again. So we're gonna curl our toes under in all fours in a moment, but if that's uncomfortable, you can do the same thing on your feet like this, and you're just gonna lift your knees up and press through your whole foot. But either way, curled under or not, you're gonna pick your knees up, have them right underneath your hips, and you're gonna rotate them over to one side and then come back to the center. Rotate them to the other side and to the center. So if you're on the tops of your feet, same thing. Rotate them over, hips to one side, knees to the other. And if you like curling your toes under, you can do this 1 or 2 times in each variation. Last one to each side, to the left and to the right. And then lower your knees and sit back into your child's pose 1 more time. And then come onto your right side. You can bring your block up by your upper body. We're gonna use that in a minute. And you're gonna come onto your forearm, and your hand is gonna be behind your head. Press away from the floor, and to start, you're just gonna sweep your leg forward, and then sweep it back. If you need, bend your bottom leg to give you a little bit more support. If this is too intense on your hip, you can also fold your mat or grab a blanket or a towel to place underneath. We won't be here for too long. And again, staying stable through the front of your body. So now you're gonna leave your leg back behind you, and as it reaches back, you're gonna rotate up and over towards your hand as your foot goes back. And then as your leg comes to the center, your torso comes to the center. And then open your torso up towards the ceiling as your front leg or your top leg comes forward. And then towards the floor as your leg goes back. And then up towards the ceiling as your leg comes forward. Doing this in opposition, think about your crown of your head and your toe reaching really long away from each other, sort of making a little spiral through your body to find a little bit of extra length. We're gonna do 2 more to each way. Last one. And then lower that leg down, bend the knees. Sorry, you don't need the block yet, I lied. And then you're gonna come up onto the other side. So on the elbow rather, not the elbow, the forearm, my brain isn't working. Lift your torso up. Again, if you need, bend your bottom knee or fold your mat under to give you a little bit of extra cushion. Lift your top leg up, sweep it forward, sweep it back. You can use your top arm while we're doing this piece if you need to hold on. If not, your hand is behind your head, giving you a little extra balance. Challenge. We're gonna do 6 more like this, and then we're gonna add the rotation. But either way, even though you're not rotating your spine here, think about growing long through the torso. 2 more. Stays facing forward, last one. Leave the leg back there. Rotate your upper body towards your hand. Sweep it forward, open up towards the ceiling. Your leg is staying in parallel, so your toes stay facing forward. Your hips are square. The rotation is only through the rib cage and the upper body. Forward. And again, think about the opposition between the crown of your head and your toe. 2 more. Last one. And then lower down and come all the way up. Grab your block and you're gonna place it in between your ankles and you're gonna give it a little squeeze and you're gonna hold on behind your thighs, sitting up nice and tall to start, and then you're gonna let your thighs be heavy in your hands. You're gonna roll back halfway. And then stack your spine all the way up tall, elbows bend wide out to the side, sit back up. And then curl the tail under, creating that space, and sit back up. 1 more time, come halfway down. And then keeping the hands heavy, or the thighs heavy in the hands, squeeze the block, and then float your legs off the floor. And again, if you're using a book and this is too heavy, you can glue your legs together, or you can think that you're holding a block. Lift the chest. For 4, squeezing from those legs, the whole leg, not just the foot. 2. Last one. Plant the block down, roll yourself all the way back, but bring your hips a little bit closer to your block. Let your head lay all the way down on the floor. Press your arms into the ground Tuck your tailbone under and you're gonna roll all the way up into a bridge. Good reminder here, thinking about opening up through the front of your hips, tucking your tailbone under, lengthening through the thighs, but not coming so high that your rib cage wants to spread apart. Stay low enough so that your ribs are still connected to one another, and then lower yourself all the way back down, still giving that block a little squeeze. Back up. And then lower down. 3 more. Going up your own pace, really articulating your spine as you pass through that imprint into your neutral, and back up. Last one. Up, go, and then all the way back down. Find yourself in a neutral pelvis, press your arms down into the ground, you're just gonna lift your hips and then lower them down. So it's more of a hinge now, to lift up and lower down, and lift and lower down. Your thighs are like the fulcrum, I think would be the appropriate word. Using your arms to help support you. 4 more. 3, again, only coming so high that your ribs stay connected. 2. Last one, pause at the top, curl the tailbone under, roll all the way down. And now if you need sit up, you're gonna rotate your block over to one side, have it be long ways, and then bring one foot onto the block, the other foot onto the ground. And you're just gonna go into your pelvic curl, lifting up, and then lower back down. Keeping that right leg on the floor, or on the block rather, left leg on the floor. And you wanna make sure that you're using your hamstrings, engaging from the heel up towards the shoulder so that that block or book doesn't start to slide away from you. 2 more. Last one, pause at the top, lower the hips and lift for 8, 7, 6, 4 more, reaching the knees and the thighs forward, 3, 2, last one, leave it lifted. Press into the foot on the right side. Lift your left leg up. Externally rotate from the thigh. And then bring it back into the center. And then externally rotate from the thigh, just like we did when we were standing, and center. Use your right arm to help keep you square. You can press down into the ground. If you're feeling insane, lift your hands up. Notice how your balance wants to just run away from you. 2 more. Your hip should stay square. Last one. Keep that leg in tabletop, lower it down and lift for 8, 7. If you want to straighten your leg all the way, go for it. 5, 4, 3, almost done on this side. 2. Last one, pause at the top. Straighten your leg if it isn't already. Lower it down and lift. Lower and lift. Going to the range of motion that works for you, but keeping those hips square. 4 more. 3, 2, lift, last one. And bend the knee, bring it into your chest, and lower all the way down. Bring your right knee into your chest. Give yourself a little rock from one side to the other. Hands behind your thighs, roll yourself up, and switch the block to the other side. Almost done. Make sure your knees are right in line with your hips. Your head is firmly planted on the floor. Arms are nice and planted as well. Curl your tailbone under, and then lift yourself up into that uneven glute bridge. Articulating here. And 2 more. Last one. Square yourself off, come into that neutral, lower down, and lift. Again, keeping those ribs connected. For 5, 4, 3, breathing. 2, last one, pause at the top, bring your right leg into tabletop, open it up to the side, bring it back in. And open up. Your foot and knee should move at the same rate. Up to the side, back in. Check that the hips are staying square. You can also always do this with your hips on the ground. should have them as high as it works for you, or as low as it works for you. 2 more. Last one. To the center. Lift the leg up. Lower down and lift. Lower and lift. You can always do this in tabletop, doesn't matter. For 4, 3. Last one, leave it lifted, extend the leg. Last thing, lower it down and lift for 8, 7. Pressing through that whole left foot. 6, inner thigh on that left leg is working, as is your glute, your hamstring, your calf, your thigh. 4 more, sure. 3, 2. Hips are square, last one. Bend that knee into your chest. Lower all the way down, bring the other leg into your chest. Rock back and forth from one side to the other. Grab on behind the thighs, roll up, lower back down. If you have a block, you can join me with this. If you don't and you have a book, I wouldn't recommend it, it'll hurt if it slides. So you're gonna start with your knees in tabletop. Slightly closer to you than 90. Hands over your head. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders up. If you have the block, put it on your shins. Bring your hands behind your head. Extend your legs just past that 90 degrees. Bring them in. Grab the block. Extend them all the way long. With the block overhead, bend them in past 90. Hands behind your head. Just past 90. Bring them in. And then extend. And bring them in. Hands behind your head. And if you don't have the block, you're just alternating a little past 90 all the way in. Extend the arms and legs long. Bring it in. A little past 90. Bring it in, arms and legs long. 3 more. 2 more. Trying to stay at the same height if you can. If you need to lower your head, go for it. Last one, hands behind the head. Just past 90, bring it in. Extend long. Bring it in. Keep your hands behind your head. Knees come in all the way to your chest. Try to stay neutral if you can. And then just bring the knees to 90. And then bring them in, but bring your upper body up. And then just to 90, lower your upper body. Everything in. To 90, release. Bring it all in. Release. Bring it all in. 4 more. Trying to really crease at those hips. 2. Last one. Bring everything in, grab onto your knees. Lower all the way down, rock back and forth from one side to the other. Move your block out of the way. Grab on behind your thighs, come all the way up. Come to the front edge of your mat. Grab onto either your shins or behind your thighs, whichever you prefer. Draw your abdominals away from the thighs, create a little bit of space in the front of your body, and then lift the feet up to a little hover. Draw your abdominals in, take a big inhale. And then as you exhale, roll back, just to the tips of the shoulders, back up, exhale, pause at the top. Inhale, exhale, ribs to hips, round through the low back, round back, pause at the top. One more time. Inhale, exhale, deepen the abdominals, round through the low back, pause. And then we'll do one more, but this time we're gonna come all the way up to stand. Exhale, round back. Inhale, plant your feet down, and then come into a weird little hover, little gremlin. Bring your hands onto the ground. Bring your feet really, really wide. You can bring them wider than your mat. And then grab opposite arm, opposite elbow, and just gently swing from one side to the other. Reaching the hips evenly back behind you. But getting rotation through that back if it feels good. And then bring your hands down into the center, walk your feet in. Bend your knees a whole bunch. Think about lifting and widening the sitting bones behind you to find that stretch in the backs of your legs. I can have my knees crazy bent and still get a hamstring stretch. Very, very tight. And then from here, lift your upper body, but keep your lower body bent. And then slowly think about finding length from the front and back of your body and fold over your legs. Grab onto opposite arm, opposite elbow. And then think about creating a little bit of space between your biceps and your ears. And then curl the tailbone under, draw the ribs toward the hips, lengthening through the low back, then through the hips, until you can lengthen no more. And then peel your spine all the way up one vertebrae at a time. Reach your arms up overhead. Cross your left foot over your right. Fingers are looped. And then side bend up and over the right. Again, press back gently into your right shin with your left calf. Come all the way up. Other side. Really thinking about breathing in between the ribs to those little tiny muscles. Then come all the way up to the top, uncross your legs, press your palms down, relax your shoulders, and press down as your head grows nice and tall. You're connected through the front of your body. And then arms by your side, and you are all finished. Thanks. Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks, Veronica.